Everybody good? We're going to start the meeting now. Thank you all for coming out on this very rainy Thursday and the start of a very rainy month of April. It seems to be raining more than it's not. So we appreciate everybody coming out. Thanks to everyone for coming out to City Island Rising for our April meeting. This meeting actually marks our 5-year anniversary. So thank you all for coming out. Nice crowd. And as you recall, 5 years ago, we packed this place, and then people were wondering what the hell we were doing here. And people were looking in, and it caused for consternation. But I appreciate everyone who came out here to build community with us. As everyone knows, we've been up to a lot, and we've been trying to add a different voice to the island, a voice of inclusion, a voice of different new ideas, and a voice where anyone can be involved in a conversation that starts with civility and looking out for our neighbors. So we're going to call up our guest in just a minute. Our guest has been handing out a bunch of surveys. They're very important. I just put them all on our social media right now. So if you go to any of Rising's social media, that's our Facebook page, our Twitter page, so I'm always just going to call it Twitter, our Instagram, or our threads. We have the threads as well. On all those pages, we have the electronic version of this survey. So I encourage everybody to fill it out, share your concerns. It's a way we can move forward. So with that, I want to just start with our guest, someone who I've known for a long time, somebody who's a recent homeowner out on the island here, so congratulations there, Anthony, fellow Florida Prep graduate. And somebody who's trying to make the island a better place, so let's treat him with respect. Let's let him give his report, and then afterwards we'll have some time for some questions. And, a lot of the time we're trying to propose new things, and that's very important because sometimes people haven't always been heard. But also very important is that where we can restore something that was good that we once had on the island, and there are opportunities to do so, we should welcome, encourage, support people who are doing that. And for many years, people remember, back in the 70s and 80s, there was the City Island Volunteer Ambulance Corps. And they operated at the Temple Bethel. And they were active. And again, a lot of that was a concern because with the traffic congestion, we needed our own ambulance out here. God forbid there was an emergency and someone couldn't be gotten to in time. So Anthony's been taking the bull by the horns and trying to reconstitute that, which is not an easy effort. And, it's a big, big undertaking, but as we all know, the biggest journeys start with the smallest steps. So let's give him a hand, and I'm going to let him present first. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, first of all, to John for letting me come out and speak to you guys tonight, and thank you all for taking a couple of seconds to listen. And he pretty much got my proposal and asked you guys in a nutshell. I know the paperwork and the names in City Island Rescue, so I don't want anyone to think we're not talking about four little pegged friends. We're talking about us human beings, and to put it simply, I am looking as a resident of the island and as a volunteer in KDT for all my entire adult life. I would like to start an volunteer ambulance here on the island, and the statistics bear it out. And also, if anybody's been on all the various community pages online, and you'll see that folks are concerned. They've been waiting up to 10, 20 minutes for an ambulance, and unfortunately, that's just not something that's sustainable or good for our community health. And so there's a lot of different things, a lot of different factors that increase response times, and unfortunately, a lot of those things are not under our control. One thing that is under our control is looking out for ourselves, starting our own ambulance. And that way, we all know traffic, especially in the summertime, things like that. And yes, there's the fire lane, but as someone who has driven ambulances, it would be a lot easier if that ambulance was here as opposed to there. Okay, that's something we can do for ourselves, is to work for ourselves, help our neighbors, help our friends. So at this point, we're in very early stages, but what I'd ask everyone to do is to fill out the survey that we've given out just to express an interest. And if anybody has any experiences where they've waited a long time, or a friend or family, let us know. We can put that in our documentation and application, and that just builds our support with the folks who we need to make this happen. And what I'm going to ask also is I've got business cards. Take the survey, pass it on to somebody else. QR code, the website, it's on John's website, and just that's what we're doing right now. We're building our base, we're building our support, and hopefully that'll be the basis for our application to the city and the state. John, not in 5 minutes. I'm sure I've taken most of that up, but yeah, so there's a lot of different factors that go into it, and the one factor we control is us. So if anybody has any ideas, any questions, I'm happy to speak to you, and just get out there and advocate for ourselves. I know I've personally seen extended response time, so I can only imagine other folks. And there are volunteer ambulances in New York City. There's about 10 of them running around all New York City, so this is not something new. This is not something that I'm just pulling out of the thin air. It's totally doable, and I would like everyone here to be a part of it. And like I said, no medical experience necessary, and at the very least, just spread the word. Just spread the word, hey, this is something that I've heard, and I want our neighbors to benefit from this, and we'll go from there. Like I said, I'll work my way around the room later on, give out little business cards, QR codes, so when you're done with the survey, pass it on to somebody else, pass it on to a neighbor, and just grow that way. And I appreciate you guys coming out, I appreciate you listening.
Can we ask a question?
John?
Absolutely, you can ask a question. You're the first one.
I'm Paige, I live on Bay Street Side. I actually had an ambulance pick me up at the beach once, and it was the fire department. They were good. I got taken to Kobe, we didn't like it, we left. But I want to know, what's the difference between the FDNY ambulance and the volunteer?
Absolutely nothing. We wear the same patch, we do the same job. The only difference is when you call 911, they're the municipal response, you get them. Okay. So we would have a direct line, you can call us,
right.
and that's how that, but literally there's no difference. The only difference is we're closer, we'd be closer.
Yeah, okay, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So you say the city and the state you're appealing, so you're thinking of the funding coming from them?
No, the funding unfortunately would have to be grants and donations and fundraising.
So then what do you get from the city, like just a permit or something?
Correct.
I mean,
Anthony,
we do have EMS here, I don't,
this was just to complement those efforts, that's all.
Right.
And I have a lot, and I've told Anthony this, and most of you know my family. I have a loved one who is medically compromised at times, and I think having this out here would be good. A third of the island now is senior citizens, and a lot of people beyond the senior citizens may have some sort of ailment that makes them vulnerable. And if we are successful, or you are successful rather, but us supporting you wholeheartedly in getting it off the ground. We want to be there. We want to be supportive. Now, you've been filing for a 501c3 status, right? So that's good because, in a sense, they're reputable. They're governed by the city and the state and the federal government. So, they'll be filing 990s. This is a reputable, trusted effort. That's a green flag, not a red flag, is I guess the way I would say that. And then I guess, Anthony, if you could just, in big strokes, what are the big next steps after the survey that you're going to be taking?
After the survey, it's putting together that application that proves the need. So basically, we go to meetings like this, the community board, the precinct council, anyone who can advocate on our behalf, putting that application together, and then really it's just fundraising past that. In terms of actually physical things that we might need. Talking to the community, we need a physical location at points. So anybody who's got a parking lot or an office that they'd like to share with us, things like that. Eventually, long term, get our own storefront like this. But in the short term, sharing with somebody. But those are our next big steps, just gaining the community support and putting together that application. So like I said, if anybody's had the experience like you did, let us know. We can, the more, because eventually what's going to happen is it's going to go to a hearing, a public hearing. So the more evidence we provide, the better. The more community stories, the more need is out there. That's what we're going to look for and present when it comes time.
And now you have to do a public hearing. That's one of your next steps, right? Will that be on the island? Is that somewhere else? Or
That's downtown.
Downtown, okay.
In Manhattan. That's just where the office is.
So fill the survey out so you don't have to go to Manhattan.
Exactly. But also, one of the things you mentioned, so we're an ambulance, but we would do more than that. Community health is also top on our mind. So first aid classes, CPR classes. If there's a need or a want, maybe we can organize, visiting seniors or infirm people during disasters. Okay, so wellness checks, things like that. Blood pressure screenings. That seems to be on everybody's mind these days. So sure, we'll come take your blood pressure. Absolutely. It was more than just an ambulance. That's the first thing, but obviously we're more than just that. We're our neighbors, we're family, we're friends. We'll be more than just that. Think of us as a community health resource. About that.
And for those of us who are following online, or those of us who have joined us online, can't see everything, Anthony has brought a whole mini squad over here of people who are trained or looking to be trained, so it's a good effort right off the ground. And if anyone wants to reach out to you who might be following online, what do they do?
So they can email us, info@cityislandrescue.org, and we'll answer right away. We'll go from there. The website is, I tried to publish it, didn't quite work, but we'll get that up within a day or two. And
So info@cityislandrescue.org.
email, yep.
Great. Does anyone else have another question?
I'll be out around after the meeting. We're
Great.
happy to go into it further with anybody who wants to speak.
Let's give Anthony a hand, and then also let's keep in mind all the stuff we're trying to do with the COAD and community emergency response. This could be another very, very critical component. And, as we said earlier, almost a third of the island is senior citizens. So people could find themselves in a vulnerable moment. There are always false situations or some sort of health incident. And, this could be a matter of helping someone between, life or something else. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it, John. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all again for coming out. I neglected to say earlier, but we have two of our board members who are right here. We have Luisa Benedetto and Millie Perez. So I want to thank them for being out here. And then I know David Diaz is going to be joining us in a little bit.
Where is David?
David is always a man with many hats and many activities. Actually, the first item on here involves David and I. As everyone knows, Rising has been championing the amount of flooding that's been going on within Pelham Bay Park. As you come out here, we just started raining today, but it's going to get very bad. There is a coastal flood warning. Yep. There's a coastal flood warning between the hours of 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. And we all know what that means. It means Ditmars is going to flood on both sides. One side is tidal, and the other side is flash flooding, most likely. And we know that the area on City Island Road by Turtle Cove will flood as well. And, this has been something we've been working on. We have 4 flood sensors on the island. There will be another 3 flood sensors that will be added in Pelham Bay Park. So we know there's a lot going on, and we've been central to that, actually, getting those flood sensors on the island. Nancy.
Just one thing.
Yes.
The flooding at Orchard Beach, the bike path between where you go in up toward the steps, the pavilion, has been underwater since before Christmas.
Okay.
Rainwater.
I will go down to Orchard Beach with you. I appreciate it. If anyone doesn't know, Nancy does her walk about 8 a.m. every day. When do you go for your walk? 8 a.m. every day, 7 a.m. every day? When is your walk usually?
Between 6:30 and 8:30.
So she is out there every day. She is the watcher of Orchard Beach, and that's a very good thing for the neighborhood at large. And on the good news side is we've been taking all these flooding photos. People know we've had Sea Grant New York here. Over the times, we've taken over 1,000 photos of coastal flooding in this community. We use an app now, so it timestamps everything with an address. Makes it much easier to upload. And those photos have been getting the attention of the Mayor's Office of Climate Change, of the Deputy Mayor's Office. We actually wrote to the Deputy Mayor with a lot of our grievances. And the outcome of that has been that the Miniford Moat, which we're all familiar with, it's the area right outside, right near where one of our members lives. I won't say who, but it's right outside of Miniford and Cross Street. It's the sidewalk that's poorly maintained. It's the bushes, and you have to go out into the street if you have a carriage or a wheelchair or something like that. And there's water there literally all year long. It freezes over, and during the summer months, it's a health hazard because we always get those West Nile, and it smells, the West Nile alerts, so the mosquitoes can go there. That's a health concern. So as a result of our meeting, and we've been pushing on this now for almost 3 years, the Miniford Moat is slated for the whole sidewalk to be fixed in the fall of 2024. So we appreciate that. It shows that you come to the meetings and you raise your voices and you document these things like crazy, good things can happen. So small and steady, but progress wins. We also had the Revelle Street Basin, which is right on the avenue. Remember, it was submerged, it was crumbling. They did repair it and raise it. It has not fully dealt with all the flooding there, but it's better than it once was, and we will try to push for more to be done there. And then the final announcement, which was our big announcement that we put on the flyer, is in the same letter that the deputy mayor and her office sent to us. They have assured us, we took them, David and I took them around all the roadways within Pelham Bay Park. Because it's not fair that only we get to experience the moon landing of some of these roadways every day. So we decided to show them what it's like. And immediately, to their credit, and there were DOT people out there, Parks people out there, Department of Environmental Protection people out there, almost immediately they realized something would need to be done. And they have committed, they're still doing an analysis, but they've committed that there will be some roadway repairs that will be going on. So that will be positive. And we will keep you posted as to what it exactly is, but we have a commitment in writing from one of the top people down at City Hall that something will be happening and good things will change. Yes?
Did they see our herd of deer?
You know what? The deer,
Because
the deer were hiding that day. I don't know, but I do see the deer. And, it is an issue, and I will, I'm going to make a note to follow up as to what they're doing there.
I just don't think we know how big an issue it is. We had a deer hit us on the driver's side.
Oh, yeah.
And it took half an hour.
And a lot of people, when they hit the deer, and I'm not saying you're one of them, and you don't have to disclose this. The deer hit you, yeah. But if you do get in an accident with an animal, or an animal-involved accident, they don't always report them to the police, and they don't always file an insurance claim. And as a result of that, there's no documentation. And sometimes that's almost half the battle itself.
I
But
made sure there was.
we did get 8 deer signs put up. It took 10 years, but we did get those put up. And I've noticed a few more have been popping up too. So I think the steady progression is doing that. Unfortunately, the deer signs are for the people, not the deer. The deer are not going to obey the deer signs. So, what are we going to do from here really is a question. What is it? Population control. And this is a problem that Staten Island's been dealing with. Actually, nowadays, even in Manhattan and other parts of the city, coyotes. The coyotes are a big problem. Go ahead.
The deer, the animals are getting forced out of the woodland because we're destroying it and paving it over to
I
make
know.
a lovely new building and a once
I am aware of this.
in a park.
I don't agree with it either, and we are trying to get a nonprofit organization that deals with parks to come and meet with you and me and a few other people who care about this. So it is an important issue.
But it's
I know.
climate change, the acceleration of the rate. I mean,
Agreed.
years of life.
Agreed.
And so we have no time to waste. And
We
we
will-
have to stop paving.
Yes. Let's talk afterwards. It is important, and that's why we sent an email to New York Orchestra Parks, and we're going to follow up with them. They've been a little busy with the budget cuts, but we'll get on them. Also, things we're pushing for, as we talked about a little earlier, we need drainage and irrigation on both sides of Ditmars. I know one of our members who watches online emailed me about Hunter Street, Hunter Avenue as well, so we're going to be going down and doing some inspections. The Pelham Bay Park flooding, particularly by Turtle Cove, that got really bad. And actually, I have some photos. I think one of the elected officials complained to the Department of Environmental Protection. And to their credit, they sent 2 guys down there to try to, futz around with the basin. But the basin wasn't broken. So it was just raining that much. So I felt bad. These guys are out there and they're, doing their jobs. God bless them. But they're out there, kind of moving around with the basin. Basin's not the problem. Something more serious is needed is the problem, and we've got to work on that. And then, of course, Tier Street and City Island Avenue, right by the medical office. There's always a lot of collection of water down there. It was part of our site visit. We haven't gotten any commitments on that yet, but the nice thing about these lists is we make the list and then we check up on them, and it keeps everybody accountable. And then Tier Street by William Street, better known as the Tier Street lot, where some of us lived out our days of revelry. It is, it's still an area that floods, and we are keeping an eye there too. There is a flood sensor down near there that measures every time there's a bad storm, is measuring how much rain accumulation or flash flooding we receive. Point 2, and any questions about the flooding before we move on?
No, can I just...
Yes, sir.
One animal that we've forgotten about, a lot of people don't even know they exist around here, but it's the red fox, and I've seen them. And,
I
I've
have
seen them in my
too.
yard, because they're after my chickens, so I know they're there. But we have to
A fox in the hen house. This could get bad.
I saw one killed on the road as well.
Yeah.
We've seen one that was a population.
I've seen possums and I've seen skunk, but I'm going to make a note of red fox. You saw fox too? Okay. We'll reach out to Marian Anderson. She's the Pelham Bay Park Administrator. She has been the park administrator, I want to say, for almost 20 years now. She is really, really dedicated to that park. A lot of us, Marian, we're going to be nice here. She's very dedicated. She can't solve every problem. And she took us on a tour of the Pelham Bay landfill a few years back. So we will work with her and we will try to see what can be done on this. And no, definitely thank you for that. Red fox.
Or I never saw it.
Soon enough. As everyone here knows, we've been still championing, trying to get NYC Ferry to extend to City Island. There was just a story in the Daily News yesterday that they are getting record amounts of riders on the ferry. It keeps going up. And the Bronx ridership, even during the pandemic where a lot of people stayed home, the Bronx ridership stayed at 90%. Why is that? A lot of Bronx people are essential workers, they're first responders, or they work at jobs where they couldn't go out. So we are going to continue to champion this. I know not everybody on the island is 100% pro-ferry. As I say every time someone asks about it, it's the neighborhood of 4,500 people at 9,000 different opinions on everything. So I understand not everyone is for it, but we are going to continue to make that case. I have the flyers here. We're still doing our logo contest. So if you are artistically inclined, we're looking for logos that we can put on storefront signs. The goal is that all the businesses, many businesses, but also residents, can put in their window a placard saying, yes, cityislandferry.com, have the QR code, have the logo, and get people talking about this. So if you have a good idea for a logo, I know last month Raphael said the one should be a very good idea, but we're still waiting on more ideas. A few people have submitted, and you can submit more than once. I had one person submit 6 different designs. Appreciate them for that level of dedication. But you can submit as well. And we've been getting the word out. CBS New York did a wonderful piece championing what we're trying to do here. They interviewed James McGowan of the City Island Diner and the Snug. He was incredible. He was a great advocate. Ironically, people don't believe this, but he subbed in at the last minute because one of his relatives couldn't do that time period. So he really stepped up in the moment in a way that was appreciated. We also, obviously, we did News 12, NBC4, New York Post did something, because now with congestion pricing starting, that is going to be difficult for some people, and this is another transportation alternative. And please keep in mind, as we talk about all this stuff with climate, we talk about trying to make decarbonize the atmosphere, try to bring down the sea levels, all the other things, the heat advisories, the rising of the temperatures, what have you. A lot of that does also involve tackling the issues that are contributing to climate change. And one of the top issues is people in their cars. And providing everybody with an accessible alternative like the New York City Ferry would help get people actually out of their cars. The congestion pricing, obviously, is a penalty and fee trying to accomplish that goal, but we're talking opportunities, we're not talking congestion pricing. But it was covered in that context. And Fox 5 was also here. It doesn't run yet. When it runs, obviously we'll clip it, we'll put it on our page. And every time we do these things, although in the last week it hasn't been updated, but we do regularly update, yes, cityislandferry.com. You can go right there. There's a web form. The web form goes to our council member, goes to the council member who's in charge of economic development, who supports the ferry to City Island, and goes to the borough president. And I can tell you, after last week, as the stories were running, it was numbers of emails going through. The council member has decided to do her own survey. It's on here, so fill out both. You can fill out our web form, and then you fill out that survey as well. And it's important that everybody make their voices heard. That's all I'll say on that.
John?
Yes, sir.
Just a footnote. I'm a frequent rider at the ferry, and they give us a discount, 50% discount, so if you buy a number of tickets. The only problem is a logistical problem. I've mailed in 4 applications to get it. You have to show up in person. They don't really respond that way. But if you have some fortitude, it's worth it. Taking in 20, 25 trips a month.
Yeah, let's talk offline, because I have some contacts over there. Maybe I can help you with that issue so you get the discount. And also, they just started, thank you for saying that, they also started a discount program for high school students. If you're a high school student, you have to pay full price either. So, again, if there's going to be such a concerted effort to get people out of their cars, we have to make sure that all transportation modes are available in this community. And everyone here knows that. How did the Bronx 29 bus start running 24/7? Yes, it was all of us complaining and signing the petition and raising the temperature, but it was also, once congestion pricing passed and there was more money going to the MTA, our elected officials, then Senator Biaggi, Assemblymember Benedetto, when they were getting lobbied for this, they were saying, well, my constituents in this neighborhood need a reliable 24/7 bus, and that's how that happened. Does anyone have any questions about the ferry? Okay. We're still doing our COAD effort. That's Community Organizations Active in Disaster. Hopefully City Island Rescue will be a part of that once they get off the ground. We had a climate change event on Tuesday. This is our 3rd event. Our first event was the organizational meeting we had in the gallery over here. The second one was our CPR classes and Cinema on the Sound. Our third was what to do in a climate disaster. We had FEMA and we had the Department of Health. It was unfortunately the weather was it was the first nice day out in a while. So while we did have some people attending, it was not as big as our first 2 events. So we're going to refocus, try to get people committed and dedicated, and choose a time that's better. We started that event at 6 o'clock, and maybe that didn't work for some people. Our next event is going to be a good one, though. One of my colleagues from Jacoby is going to come, Janice Halloran. She runs the emergency room. She's on the, she's part of the condo board at the Boatyard Condominiums. And she's going to come, and we're going to do a hazardous vulnerability assessment for all of City Island. Where are our weak points, where are our vulnerabilities, and how would we react if there was an emergency? So check our social media or be prepared for an email. That will run, we'll have a date on that probably in the next week or so. And then finally for our spring semester, we will have, we are going to be working with Department of Health. It'll be how would we get off City Island in an evacuation related event if that disaster were to occur. So I know some grim subject matter, but prepared, not scared, as some people say. And then we are still working with the Office of Emergency Management and CERT, which are the Community Emergency Response Teams. They have been dealing with budget cuts and staff personnel, and we thought we would kind of get a program up and running in the spring after our October meeting. It's being pushed back to the fall, into the summer, hopefully to the fall. So we will keep you posted, but we are on top of that as well. Before I go into old business and new business, I just wanted to open the floor. Are there any community concerns, either about the COAD or about anything in the neighborhood that people want to talk about? Yes, Stephen.
Last year we did senior citizen discount for people, seniors.
Yeah.
Governments, you think that could be reactivated or?
I will reach out to them, definitely. Now, I'm glad you mentioned this because now is the time to do that, because as the state budget gets finalized, we go into the city budget season. And that's something else we're going to be putting out there. New Yorkers for Parks has a whole campaign for, if you go to Playfair, one word, .nyc, you can sign a petition to stave off some of the budget cuts to the park. Every day, wherever you go, you have to, hold on one second, you have to drive off of City Island, and if there's not money to clean that park, it has a direct effect on homes. So it takes you 2 minutes to sign Playfair.nyc to make sure budgets go through. Your Honor? Oh, I thought you were saying. Yes,
The Parks
Nancy.
Department, for a capital
Yes.
project, gets a huge amount of money for every mature tree, up to $200,000 for one tall oak tree for a capital project. Supposedly to plant new ones, but they can't plant enough, plus they will never grow in time. The Parks Department pads their budget, so I have they have a plenty of budget. I don't know what they do with it. They are paving over Orchard.
Okay, we've had that conversation, so I appreciate
But
that.
people don't go there and see it.
Okay, but
And
that's,
we
we've
talk
already
about
talked
climate
about that.
change.
Yes, I know, but
And we
Nancy,
talked
we will
about asphalt.
we
sucking
talk
in the
about
sunlight.
this offline. I appreciate what you're saying.
But people need to know because nobody knows.
You have informed us. I know. So as a result, again, Parks Department, there are seasonal employees. Those are the people who would be most likely cut, not capital project. Capital projects would be delayed. So if we want to see the park clean, we've got to make sure that the budget is there to clean it. Playfair.nyc. We'll put it on our social media channels. It's important. Take it 2 minutes. Sign for that. Thankfully, we have no. They're not suggesting there'll be any fire department cuts, so we don't need to worry about that. The only other thing we need to worry about potentially is the library cuts, which I think are still in the budget, right? Okay, so we'll put something out there about the libraries as well. So just keep on our social media, and if you're not on social media, or some people call it unsocial media, you can just let me know, and we will email you what you need so you can still be an active participant in fighting these cuts as they exist. I know there's also some cuts they're talking about for CUNY, where that's a problem in the budget. Obviously, many islanders do go to CUNY and avail themselves of those services, so just be aware of that as well. Old business. UPK, yes sir.
I'd just like to make a comment because John helped me get elected onto the Jacoby Hospital Community Advisory Board, so we're talking community here.
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to bring things to the community, and they achieved something recently that no other hospital in New York City was able to do. They recruited 300 nurses. I mean, 300. Nobody else could even get nurses. They got
Where did they
300.
get them?
They just recruited widely and they paid more money. I don't
Yes, absolutely. So first off, I wish, and I'm glad this is being recorded, I might have to show this to some of the people at Jacoby, because they'd be very happy, because that's exactly what they want the camp makers to do, is to be ambassadors out in the community. So thank you for that, Patrick. How they did it, someone mentioned, is a few years ago, remember the NYSNA, New York Nurses Association? They are the nurses union. They were rallying, they were picketing because they wanted pay parity to private hospitals. That was a big barrier for them, as they weren't paid as much as their private counterparts. And then to add insult to injury, as you're aware of, as a result of them not having enough nurses, they had to do the nurses by the day, which would make more money to do the same job and was a definite morale killer for those nurses. I do work at Jacoby, though I'm not speaking here in that capacity, but I have two sisters who are both nurses, both in NYSNA, so I am familiar with the issue. And one of my sisters was born at Jacoby and then went back to work there at Jacoby, so talk about life going full circle. And my mother worked at Jacoby for 20 years before I got there, so multi-generational family at Jacoby. But no, thank you for that, very important. UPK, the search continues. We're looking for spots. We looked at one spot, very promising. As everyone knows, we lobbied with our elected officials. We got a RFP issued to build a UPK on City Island. We then worked with Bronx House, which is an extremely reputable nonprofit. It's run by the Bronx Jewish Community Council. They already do UPK, so they bring experience to this regard. They applied, they got the contract, and then we even had one of our local officials, Assemblymember Benedetto, gave $250,000 for their capital needs. And our new city council member, my understanding is she wants to be very helpful as well, which we welcome. It has just been about finding a site that is big enough, because we want to do the UPK, which is the 4-year-olds. They need, I think it's 50 square feet, or maybe it's 100 square feet, a pupil. So there's about 25 to 30 pupils in each class. And then we want to do the 3PK, which are the 3-year-olds that then go to UPK. So we are really just looking for a spot that is big enough. As everyone here knows, we were trying to work to get the building on the corner of Carroll Street, where the bridge people used to operate, right here on the corner. There's the boat in the front yard. The negotiations unfortunately broke down. The building would still require tremendous renovation. Keep in mind, the buildings have to be ADA accessible. There needs to be secondary egress. They need to be safe in a fire emergency, because we're talking about little ones. There needs to be, the bathrooms need to be rearranged for the little ones too. So there's a lot of work that needs to go into this. But if you have suggestions on sites, I'm working with Maria, amongst other people, who obviously has a wonderful real estate expertise that I don't have. And we're all trying. We're still pushing on this. I just wanted to put an update here. It's an old business because there's not much to report. We did look at one site that is quite promising. The question again becomes, the city only pays them out once they open the program. So a lot of people, are they going to take the hit to let someone open up, even though it's a guaranteed income for a number of years? You've got to take the hit if they're going to be renovating, yet you're not going to be getting income for a while. And that is somewhat the crux of what we're dealing with here.
John?
Yes, sir.
Were there temporary classrooms at the?
There were, yeah.
You're not there anymore?
So they were put in 2001. They put them in right when Ina Elwanger, who was the longtime principal, was leaving, because they must have known she was going to go crazy with them there. And they were supposed to be there for 10 years. They were there for over 20 years. And I think they're in the process of removing them. And the thing is, people do not, because if we were to put something in there, they might just leave the trailers there even longer, and I think people want to reclaim that space for the schoolyard. And unfortunately, the building is, from my understanding, filled, but a good idea. And people have been suggesting storefronts. If people watching online or people watching after the fact want to do that, they can do it at cityislandrising@gmail.com for that, or for any issue. And anytime I get a site, I reach out to Maria or reach out to someone else. We find out who the property owner is, and we reach out to them. We have yet to be successful. We're on site 4 or 5 now, but we will continue, because City Island's going through a mini baby boom to begin with, and this is a service that's offered just like the bus, just like in some cases the ferry. It's a service that's offered throughout New York City, and we are residents of New York City, and we should have that available service like everybody else. We are still trying to work on the urgent care in the community garden. There's no new news there. It's still a process. If people want to share their ideas, just email us at cityislandrising@gmail.com. We would need a space to put a garden, and with an urgent care, we need an office that would be willing to do that, and we need to find an urgent care partner. At one point, there was one urgent care company that wanted to do it. They've since relocated elsewhere, unfortunately. We're doing, so for honor of Earth Week, or Earth Month rather, we're going to be doing a e-cycling event, our annual e-cycling event, it's going to be April 20th, right outside of 239 Play. Bring your TVs, your computers, everything else. There's a flyer on our social media. I didn't print out a bunch of flyers on that one, but we do have them. And if you need one, just reach out, let us know. We'll send you the flyer, and I'll probably be putting them all up throughout the neighborhood soon. So, that's always a well-run event. We do pay to get the team here to do it. So please, if you need to get rid of electronics, let us know. If you are, or you know of someone who has the electronics, but not everybody can take a huge television and lift it down their stairs. If you let us know beforehand, we can work with you to try to find some way to make that happen. I want to be careful how I handle that, but we will work with you. You don't have to almost throw your back out or slip down the stairs or anything like that. We will work with you as neighbors to try to find a way to get the television to be recycled in the right way.
So what is happening? A truck comes by the island?
Yeah, we have a truck with the Ecotech management people right outside of 239 Play. When we did this during the pandemic, I mean, Louisa was a part of it. We didn't sit down for like 5 hours because people kept rolling up, truck, and we'd go up, we'd go to their cars, we'd pull it out. The second time, it was well attended, but it wasn't as crazy. So this is now almost 2 years later we're doing this. The last time we did it was September or October of 2022. So this is our third e-cycling event. But yeah, bring out whatever you have, and we'll make sure it gets disposed of properly. And these guys, by the way, they wipe all your data from everything. We pay a fee to have them come out here. But we do, they're not collecting your data. They wipe everything as it goes down, so you don't need to worry about that. But you're free to try to wipe it yourself if that's the case. You can, but they sign something that is their company policy as well. Did you have something you want to say, Mom?
No,
Paige?
no, you answer my question.
Okay. We do have some requests for speakers in the coming months. So one is Bally's Casino, or the casino proposal, Bally's Links right now. These are the folks that took over Trump Links. They are exploring the possibility of doing a casino license over at Trump Links, the former Trump Links. Again, Donald Trump is no longer involved in Trump Links. That's why it's been renamed Bally's Links. They're going to all the community organizations throughout the general area and just making the presentation, soliciting input. I know not everybody wants a casino, and I'm not here to tell you we need one or to change your mind. I'm just here to say they asked to present, and I think we should hear them out. And that way, at the very least, whatever decision you come to as an individual or we come to as an organization, you're informed and you heard directly from the source. And if there is a other group that has an interest in it, we can hear from them too. And we do try to pair things up that way. Secondly, we were reached out to by Open Plans NYC. This is an advocacy group. What they're trying to do is pass something in the council for daylighting of every corner in the city of New York. I know there is some friction with some folks about the daylighting we've already done at some of the corners. Again, that was done by residents of those particular blocks because they couldn't get off their block. Daylighting, again, is when they take a parking space on the corner to widen the visibility so people can see what's going on. It's been a proven deterrent of accidents and particularly pedestrian accidents. So we will, they've asked to come, so we'd like to have them, and we'll probably invite someone from the City Island Chamber as well, so we'll hear both sides that night. But this is something we do want to hear, and providing it in the proper context where both sides are heard is always important. So people, we don't want to tell people what to think. We just want to make sure you're hearing both sides of the story, or as many sides as exist, and then we'll come to a different determination. Next up, the Metro North. Everyone's familiar with the Metro North and the rezonings involving the Metro North. Now, for us, most City Islanders will probably use the Co-op City Station because it's the closest to us. We have been lobbying to try to get a walking path, a well-lit walking path installed between Erskine Place and here, and have the 29 bus just drop you off there and you could get up and go. Still work in progress, but we have spoken to the Department of City Planning. This is for more of the land use items around Jacoby and Montefiore and Eastchester Road area. They want to upzone the areas to build housing there, and they're trying to do that as well over by Blondell Avenue and that whole thing. It's to build more housing there. But if people are interested in learning more about the Metro North proposal, they can do that. The hearing is listed right on here for you. And if you want to submit testimony beforehand or after, because the hearing is on the 16th, but written testimony will be accepted until that Friday, the 19th. And what you can do is you can email Tom Hortzman, jhortzman, HORSTMAN, @bronxbp.nyc.gov. Again, as of right now, and I point this out, there's no change to the ferry, so the biggest change to our transportation beyond the Bronx 29 running 24/7 will be these Metro Norths, because we know the Metro Norths are going to happen. So I encourage everybody to try to make the hearing if you can. It'll be posted online on YouTube thereafter. We'll share it, but be informed. In terms of meaningful actions that people can take after this, as we talked about, the web forms for the ferry, both ours and the council members, are listed right on here. So you just go to those two websites and let them know what your views are on this. And, you know, again, we've been seeing a tremendous amount of activity on this, at least from our side. So if you've already filled it out, share it on your social media, text it to 5 friends. It takes 5 minutes, and if we all do these things, it has a ripple effect, and it raises the bar on the things we care about. This is a small neighborhood of 4,500 people, but we tend to punch above our weight because we're very well organized, we're very outspoken, which everyone here knows, and we vote. So this is another opportunity to express your wishes. And if you want to be involved in our co-ed effort, again, community organizations active in disaster, you can do so by, there's a bit.ly site down here, bit.ly, bit.ly, / and then it's all capital, and this is a case-sensitive bit.ly, CIR CERT, CERT, all one word, CIR CERT. And then we will put online for everybody the Playfair, so people can sign up to stop the Parks Department cuts and the library cuts. Does anyone have any other question, comment, concern, anything? Thank you, everybody. Get home safe. Thanks for coming out on this rainy day.